So in Mounce chapter 4, we're introduced in 4.1 to some Greek punctuation marks. So 4.1, Greek punctuation marks. Some of these are similar to English, some are different. So he gives us theos. What does that mean? Ah, yes, very good. So if I have a comma in Greek, then that does what you think it does. Creates a pause. Okay, this is an English comma as well. If you have a period after theos, then that's a period. That ends the sentence. So that's all fine and dandy. What's different here is when I have this symbol here. When I see the dot right here, that is basically a semicolon in English. Okay, so that can separate clauses. So I went to the store, semicolon, I bought some milk. All right, so that's not going to be a period. The period's down lower. This is about halfway up the line here. And then if I have this in Greek with what looks like a semicolon, then that equals a question mark in English. Okay? So be very careful with this. There are going to be times when you're translating sentences for your exercises, and you're going to think that you're translating a statement of fact, and it won't make a whole lot of sense as a statement of fact, and you will have neglected to see that way at the end of that there's this little punctuation mark, and then you realize, oh, okay, that's actually a question. I need to convert that into a Greek question. Sometimes you'll be translating a passage that you know, and it is a question, but you're not thinking of it as a question because you haven't gotten to the punctuation mark, and you'll already be thinking there's some cognitive dissonance there, and then you'll be relieved to see the question mark at the end. Yes?
With manuscripts and stuff, they wouldn't have punctuation at all or anything?
You will, yeah, some manuscripts will have those punctuation marks. Yeah. All right. Now, the next section in Mounce's textbook has to do with what are called diacritical marks. So these are going to be marks that will go around the words in Greek. They'll make their way around the text. Okay? The first one that he talks about is the diaeresis, and we've already described that. So that only occurs over, I'll just put the letter D here for diaeresis, only over iota and upsilon when you need to ensure that they're not pronounced like diphthongs. Okay? It gives it its own distinct vowel sound. Now, the second thing is the apostrophe. Now, what does an apostrophe do in English? You have an apostrophe. Where do you see that? Think back. Okay, good. So you'll see it in possession. And where else do you see it? In contractions. And that's what we're dealing with when we see the apostrophe in Greek, okay? This is going to be used where vowels have fallen out. Okay, so if you have vowels falling out, then the apostrophe will be there to signal that. Let's take a look at an example here. So I've already given you the word apa. Okay, what did we say what that meant? I don't think we did we? It means from or away from. Okay, and it looks like this, apa. And then if I take this word emu over here, notice that the word apa ends with a vowel, but the very next word begins with a vowel. And what can happen here is that this vowel can drop out. Okay? The verb for that is elide. The vowel can elide. The result is elision. That's the noun. Now, when that happens, this omicron is going to go away, and the apostrophe is going to occur right after the P in the place right above where the vowel would have been. Okay? And this apostrophe now is going to look just like something else you've learned. What do we call that? The smooth breathing mark. Okay? How do I know that this is not a smooth breathing mark over here next to the P? Number one, it's at the end of a word, and breathing marks go where? At the beginning of a word. And two, when do you use a breathing mark at the beginning of a word? When it's, no? With any vowel sound. Anytime the word starts with a vowel. And so the smooth breathing mark will always be over a vowel. Is this over a vowel? No, it's over nothing, right? There's nothing here. So if you see that symbol over a big nothing, then it's an apostrophe, signaling that a vowel has elided. It's gone. Okay? Now, if you already know your Greek word, you also then will notice, oh yeah, that's normally apa, the omicron's gone. All right. So that's an example of the apostrophe being used. Yes?
So how would you pronounce? Would you pronounce it still apa?
No, you wouldn't. So it would be op-emu. Op-emu. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. Thank you for asking that. All right. So the next thing here has to do with accent marks. How many accent marks are there? Okay, good. There are 3. They look like this. So this is called the acute accent. This is called the grave accent. This is called circumflex. Okay, so these accent marks will go over the vowel. So we'll just use our alpha as an example. There's an alpha with an acute accent, an alpha with a grave or grave accent, an alpha with a circumflex. Now, you may have noticed in some Greek printing this thing that looks like a tilde. You guys know a tilde goes over an N in Spanish to make it an ñ, a ñ sound. Okay? But there are many printers that do the circumflex, which normally looks like this. They will use this symbol for it. So just be aware that that is a circumflex if you come across it. In my font, in my handouts, you will see this symbol and not this one. Okay? So this is a circumflex as well. All right? Now, these accent marks, it appears that originally they weren't stress accents like we use them now. A stress accent is an accent mark that marks which syllable is stressed. So in English, we joke around and we say that somebody stresses the wrong syllable, right, as opposed to the wrong syllable. They're putting the stress in the wrong place. In Greek, these accent marks were apparently used to indicate tone. Now, in English, tone doesn't really matter a whole lot for us unless we're asking questions. We have rising tone if we're not using a question word. Okay? I could say, do you like coffee? That's a question. But if I don't use a question word and I say, you like coffee, am I asking a question? No, I'm making a statement, right? You like coffee. But if I say, you like coffee, and I go up with that tone, I'm asking a question with that, right? So the acute accent then would appear to be indicating a rising tone. So not just ah, but ah. Okay, a grave accent then would be falling tone. Ah. Circumflex, well, can you guess what that is? That's right, it's ah. Okay, it's a combination of rising and falling tone. You see that? Now, we're thankfully not going to indicate the tone. We're just going to treat the placement of the accent as a stress marker, okay? So wherever you see the accent, that will be where you place the primary stress for that word if there's multiple syllables. If there's only one syllable, then you stress that one syllable, okay? Now, when we have an accent mark, I do need to mention this, and a diphthong at the same time, where are we going to put those accent marks? It's got to go over the second one. So let's use I as our example. The acute accent is going to go over the iota. The grave accent, well, is going to go over the iota. The circumflex is going to go over the iota. You get the pattern here. So that's where we're going to see those. If you have smooth or rough breathing and accent mark, what do we do? Well, let's look at a couple of examples here. What if I want to do I and I have a smooth breathing and an acute accent? What am I going to do? It's going to go over, both of them will go over the iota. Okay? The breathing mark comes first. Okay? Grave, it's going to look like that. Okay? And then circumflex is slightly different. The smooth breathing will go over the iota, and then the circumflex will go over the top of the breathing mark. Okay? This is true whether it's smooth or rough. Smooth or rough breathing will go below, circumflex goes over it. Okay? Yes?
Can you use a diuresis and an accent on the same letter?
Yes, and if you have a diuresis, it would look like that. Okay? Good question. All right. Excellent. Now, should you learn the accent marks? You should on your vocabulary words, to be sure, because sometimes the difference between two words' meanings is the difference in an accent mark. So it doesn't happen very often, but there are a few places where that is the case. Also, though, if you learn the normal stress on that vocabulary word, it's going to help you to memorize that word faster. If you're constantly pronouncing it different ways, that's not going to help you. So learn where the stress is, learn the accent mark that goes with it, so that you can constantly be pronouncing it the proper way. Now, what I want to do next is actually look at the handout that I gave you on syllabification. So let's pull that up. Okay, so rules for syllabifying or syllabification. What does it mean to syllabify? It's simply to divide into the constituent syllables a word. All right? So that's what we want to do. Why is it important to know how to do this? So that you pronounce things properly. Okay? Again, you can't really learn and memorize things without knowing how to pronounce them. So let's go through these rules. These are outlined in Ross. I put them in a handout here for us. So the first principle is that the number of syllables you're going to have in a word is always going to be dependent upon the number of vowels you have. Remember, a diphthong constitutes one vowel sound. One vowel sound. By the way, I don't think I mentioned this. The diphthongs are always long vowel sounds. Okay? They're never short. If you're combining two vowels together to create a single vowel, it's not going to be a short vowel. So diphthongs are always long. The iota subscripts that we talked about, those are going to go under long vowels as well. So if you notice this iota subscript under alpha, eta, and omega. You already know eta and omega are long, right? Eta is a long E, epsilon's the short, right? Omega is the long O, omicron was the short. But the alpha could go either way. So if there's an iota subscript under an alpha, what can you tell me about that alpha? It's the long version of the alpha because iotas cannot subscript under a short vowel. All right? So diphthongs, whether they're proper or improper diphthongs, are always long. Okay? So one vowel or one diphthong equals one syllable. So how do you know how many syllables a word has? Count the vowels and diphthongs. That's how many syllables you got. And by the time you're done slicing and dicing, that's how many little parts you should have left. Okay? So take a look at this word. This is pronounced a-ke-ka-amen. Say that with me. A-ke-ka-amen. How many vowels do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are any of these diphthongs? What about those two vowels together? Doesn't that form a diphthong? Isn't that kwa? I'm just teasing. That's not a diphthong, is it? How do you know that's not a diphthong? That's right. There's no iota or upsilon as the second member of the sequence. You got to have one of those to have a diphthong. That's right. So these are actually separate vowel sounds. Very good. Okay, and so when I'm done dividing this, we'll talk about how I knew where to divide where in just a moment. But notice I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 syllables left after dividing because I had 5 vowels. Now let's move on here. Number 2, a single consonant goes by itself, or a single consonant by itself goes with the following vowel. So that is to say, I don't have 2 consonants in a row. If I see one consonant, then I find the vowel that follows it, and that's going to create its syllable. Okay, so take a look here. I have this word, etheasametha. Okay, here are single consonants right here. So this consonant does not go with the preceding vowel. It goes with the following vowel. Okay. The only exception here is that final consonants go with preceding vowels, because I can't have a consonant dangling at the end of a word and cut it off and think I have a syllable, right? Because consonants don't constitute syllables. Vowels are really the core of the syllable. So if you notice the way this is sliced, then theta has this vowel, the sigma has that vowel, the mu has this vowel, and the theta has that one, okay? So etheasametha. Well, again, we'll deal with single vowels here in just a moment. I had 6 vowels. I have 6 syllables here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No diphthongs. That's not a diphthong, is it? Okay? There's no iota or upsilon here. Number 3, 2 consecutive vowels, but not a diphthong combination, are going to be divided. You cut those in half. They will constitute 2 syllables. So using the word etheasametha, notice that here's where I have the 2 vowels together. They are not a diphthong pair, so I need to cut that in half. All right? The alpha goes with its own syllable. Theta epsilon constitutes its own. E-the-a. E-the-a. Now, number 4, consonant cluster. A consonant cluster that cannot be pronounced together must be divided. The first consonant of the cluster goes with the preceding vowel. Now, there's a difficulty with this rule, and that is that you don't really know what can be pronounced together as a consonant cluster, do you? Like, how can you predict that? You're not a native Greek speaker. So you get a word like this, and you may say, well, I certainly cannot pronounce this mu, p, rho together, but maybe a Greekster could. Can anybody pronounce that? Don't pronounce the vowel, just try to pronounce the consonant cluster. And I'll give you the omicron. Bro. How's that? Bro. 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 Okay? It's pretty difficult. It sounds sort of Russian, doesn't it? So the fact of the matter is this is not a pronounceable consonant cluster according to the rules of Greek. sound patterns. The pra is, okay, but the mbra is not, okay. So that's going to be divided here, okay. This first consonant will go with the preceding vowel, and these two consonants will go with the next. So it's m, pra, sten. Okay. Another issue here is, do we have sta as a consonant cluster that we can pronounce in English? Not really, right? Do you know any words in English that start with sta? Yeah, you might see that in the middle of a word. It's not really a good English consonant cluster, right? How do you know if a consonant cluster can be pronounced in Greek then? Here's a rule of thumb. Look up the consonant cluster that's in question in a Greek lexicon. Look and see, do any words begin with mu, pi, ro? And the answer would be no. Never see that. But you would see pi, ro starting a consonant cluster, starting a word in the Greek language. Okay? You will find some Greek words that start with that as well. So this is an allowable consonant cluster. Now, how many vowels do I have here? 3. Epsilon, omicron, epsilon. So by the time I'm done dividing this, I've got three syllables here. Now, according to number 5, consonant clusters that can be pronounced together go with the following vowel. All right? They go with the following vowel. Note, mu and nu can be pronounced in a cluster if they are the second letter. So here's our word for Christ. Chri. Now, how do you know that this is an allowable consonant cluster in Greek? Because it actually starts the word, right? There's nothing for this chi to go with but behind it. There's no vowels before it. So chri, and then sigma tau is a pronounceable consonant cluster in Greek as well. You would see lots of words that start with that consonant cluster in Greek also. So chri, stas. So consonant clusters will go with the following vowel, like this. This consonant cluster goes with that vowel. So we're going to divide right in between those. Christos. Christos. All right. And then the word for spirit is pneuma. In English, when we have a P-N sequence, we drop the P, don't we? And we just pronounce the N. In Greek, we're going to pronounce that P. So pneuma. Notice that this is a diphthong, isn't it? I'm going to treat this as a single vowel. So this single consonant will go with its following, and this vowel sound goes with that consonant cluster. So pneuma, pneuma, pneuma. All right. So nu is able to be pronounced as the second member of a consonant cluster like this. English doesn't like that. All right, number 6, double consonants are divided. You get a double consonant, split it right in the middle, okay? So you get the double gamma here. You know that the pronunciation of that first gamma is going to be nasally, but in terms of dividing, split it there. Okay, so angelos, angelos. And with this verb, which means to throw, or I throw, double lambda, we're going to split that in the middle. Ballo, ballo. So split the double lambda there. It would. I'm just focusing on the double consonant here, but yeah, you divide. Oops. You divide to the left of that gamma there. Get rid of that. So they're just right there. Okay, and then last we have compound words. Compound words are divided where the two words are joined. Now, what's a compound word? I guess we should make sure we understand what that is. A compound is the bringing together of two things, right? So a compound word is a word that really has a prefix attached to it, where you could break that prefix off. So in English, we could say, oh, my child's active. And another parent could say, yeah, but my child's hyperactive. Okay, what have I done? I've compounded the prefix hyper with active. Now, when I compound words, I can always break the word up that's been compounded into the two constituent parts. So where the two words are joined in a compound word, you break them. Now, you don't know this word at all. Ekbalo. We just saw it a second ago. Balo means to throw, and ek is a prefix that means out. So ekbalo means to throw out. Now, once you learn ek is a common prefix and you know the word balo, then you can just clearly see, I would divide right there between the ek and the ball. Okay? By the way, it's funny that the word balo is spelled like ball, right? You throw a ball. So anyhow, so we split the double lambda and we split ek from ball right there. Okay? Knowing what the sorts of things are that can be compounded is something that you'll learn as we go on, but that is one of the rules of dividing a Greek sentence or Greek words into syllables. Okay? So let's just see if you have any questions here about the homework. Actually, before we do that, let's read the vocab words. Can we do that? Go to page 16, and I'll have you just recite these vocab words with me. You ready? Everybody, just repeat after me. Angelos.
Angelos.
Amen.
Amen.
Anthropos.
Anthropos.
Apostolos.
Apostolos.
Galileia.
Galileia.
So the alpha iota is a diphthong. I. Okay, Galileia. So how many syllables do I have there? 4, right? There's literally 5 vowel symbols, but 2 of those form one vowel sound. All right. Graphe. So that's scripture there. Doxa. You guys know the doxology, right? So glory. Ego. Eschatas. Zoe. Theos. Kai. Cardia. Is that iota, alpha, a diphthong? Diphthongs have alphas and iotas, don't they? Yeah, but not that order, right? Be careful with that. You may get confused. So that's cardia. Cosmos. Logos. Pneuma. Prophetes. Sabaton. Phone. And on the next page, Christos. And some proper nouns here. Abraham. Dawid. There's a diphthong. Dawid. Paulos. Petros. Pilatus. Simon. All right. Very good.